Tina's got snow, but it's 20. It was only 21 here this morning, so not bad. Yesterday, 14 was a little chillier. Bump, 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 bump. Come on, come on, come on.
Lots of snow.
Huh?
Lots of snow and 29 degrees. We're 29 degrees this morning too.
Well, they had lots of snow. Tina, I think, had lots of snow last weekend. I think they were getting some of that was pounding, Buffalo and all that area up there, lake effect. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Tina. And I hope you guys have shoveled out okay. And good morning, Carkey.
That was the very best football game I've ever seen in my entire life.
Which one?
That Buffalo game.
Oh, was it really? I missed it. I didn't watch it.
I hate the 49ers. And it was snowing so hard and coming down so hard, and they were just sliding away. And those Buffalo boys were just running over them. And I was like, this is the greatest game ever. And Josh Allen he got a record for the NFL. It never happened before. He got a rushing touchdown. He threw a pass for a touchdown, and he got a touchdown where he threw a pass, and the guy flea flicked it back to him, and he rushed in for the touchdown. It was the best game I've ever seen because my team won.
Well, yeah, that helps. Tina said it was a pretty good game, too.
It was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, Tina, I'm glad you got somebody to do your driveway. That's good.
And it reminded me
of that kind of stuff. You might call him up next year. I don't know if he travels.
I can bring the old Big Bertha out.
He got a snow plow and everything.
Clear out.
I saw some of his work last year. It looked pretty darn good. I think the highway guy tried to hire him. Didn't you have a guy stop and comment on your?
Yeah, like you should go. You like, would you come to work for town or whatever?
Brenda may not be on here yet. Let me. She promised me she would be here, but I don't think she slept again last night. So there's a real good chance
that you're gonna wake her up right now. That's what you're gonna do.
Probably sleep. Yeah. Well, she told me to. Well, you say that like it's just something that's going to happen. Chances are it's going to ring 5 times and go to voicemail. She probably won't even hear it.
Well, my bride's supposed to be sleeping in. We'll see how long that lasts.
It went to voicemail.
I have all the dogs piled around me, and she's up in the upstairs sleeping, and hopefully she sleeps.
Got the dogs up there, she'll get cold.
if my daughter doesn't make a whole bunch of noise now that she's up and about.
Hello, daughter.
Hello.
I like that jackrabbit video you sent. That was funny. Gigi or whoever.
Gigi was pointing at jackrabbit and
it jumped up and took off. I must
say that she figured out just like a professional how to put the circle around the animal so you could see it.
And then boom, off it went. Looked like a pretty good sized rabbit.
Well, white-tailed jackrabbits get up to 14 pounds. They're one of the world's largest hares. That actual wild hares. We don't count those things they've raised in Scandinavia or wherever that that get up to like 25 pounds or
Yeah,
something.
but those are
They're domestic. They're not a wild rabbit. They're a domestic rabbit.
yeah, they're.
But yeah, that was a pretty cool video she shot.
I watched it 2 or 3
And
times.
she told me she saw a white-tailed jackrabbit and down at the river, but she didn't tell me she captured a really cool video and that the Z dog was like locked up there.
Well, I didn't know what I didn't realize at first. I'm thinking that Caitlin didn't see the rabbit either at first. It was pretty camouflaged. I mean, if she hadn't
Well,
drawn,
it's right. They turn white in the wintertime like a
yeah, I didn't
snowshoe.
realize they got it that white. I got a sore place on my hand I just found.
They
Sore places like that.
black-tailed jackrabbits don't change color, but whitetails turn snow white in the wintertime.
Do you guys have blacktails up there?
We have them within about 50 miles of us. They're down there south of Green River. There's quite a few, and now maybe 60 miles. Now that I think about it, and then they're all over eastern Wyoming, but not out here.
Speaking of Green River, okay, segue right into a whole nother topic for a minute. I saw a video this morning, this very morning, while I was getting dressed. Digging Science guys were out your. I think they must have been out your way because they were in a quarry situation. They said they were in the Green River.
They were in the Green River Formation up in the Blue Forest. Were they digging great big chunks of petrified wood?
No, this time they were finding little insects and some feathers up there between the layers. They broke open wherever they were at. They
were up here at Kimmer then.
But I thought they were somewhere in that general area.
They're just up there northwest of Kimmer. There's a big private quarry up there, and you can pay them money and they let you dig. But if you find anything really cool, they keep it.
Well, there's one of those places that doesn't do that unless it's something. Well, actually,
there's like 4 of them, and they all have different rules.
Yeah.
One of them up there lets you keep anything you find.
I think it's kind of neat. I mean, I think it is kind of neat that you can go up there and do that. It's really neater if it's someplace they let you actually keep the stuff, because that's.
And those guys are extracting that rock. The quarry owners are actually bundling. They dig that rock up and bundle it, and it's just like sheets of a book.
Yeah.
And you just pop it open, and it's like there's a critter inside, and there's nothing, and then there's lots of critters, and then there's nothing, but you can split that rock like a quarter of an inch or thinner.
Yeah, they had some really thin,
great big giant sheets of it. It'll just literally splits like the pages of a book, and it's pretty cool.
Well, they were showing in this particular case that they were looking at there was a very thin, and you could peel it off and you could see through it. It was like a thin layer of salt and whatever else. And below that or above that layer is where they were finding insects.
Yeah.
And one of them found at least 3 feathers from some kind of critter.
Yeah.
Say bird, and I caught myself because maybe it was some kind of.
Oh, I'm sure they were birds. They find lots of birds, bats.
Do they?
The best bat fossil ever found in the world came from one of those quarries up there.
Wow, that's cool.
I mean, every detail of the animals there. It's the skin, the skin on the wings, the whole deal.
Morning, Dave. Adventures by Dave has entered.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, I clicked on video of yours a day or two ago, and then I think I got sidetracked, so I don't know if I saw the whole thing or not. I got to go back and look for it. I can't remember where you were at. You guys were probably. I'm going to assume it was
somewhere warm.
Do what?
Somewhere probably warm.
Well, Georgia, but that's not much warmer right now.
Right.
There's another gal that most of us know, and her name's Leanne Sherbet. She sent something out on Facebook yesterday or this morning that said that she wanted her friends up north to know that the weather had gotten drunk and was down her way, and they could damn sure come and get it any time now. And I think it was in the 20s down there too.
Well, I was exact.
Yeah, it was, Dave. I just don't remember which one now.
We were exactly the same temperature as Tina this morning, 27, I think. And
really, that's warm for you.
It's balmy.
I mean, you're warmer than us.
But it's mostly overcast, and that we had all the sailors in Wyoming are hunting a hole right now because all the many sailors that we have stationed in Wyoming, they're all looking for a hidey hole because
it was red this morning.
It was blood red, as red as I've ever seen it.
Wow.
And it was, the light wasn't up yet good enough, and I couldn't get him. I got some photos, but not good photos. So it was going to be a gorgeous sunrise, but it just kind of got more and more overcast and just went away. So
Tina says
the sailors in Wyoming.
Dave, yeah,
they've got. You can put a sail on anything here and go. I've seen people doing sails on trucks.
I'm saying, oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say I'd seen some guys do that on two canoes strapped together before, but that wasn't in Wyoming.
I've seen that too.
Oh, I should.
And laughed at the Boy Scouts paddling back the other direction that said, man, I wish we'd have thought of that. They could have.
I have to admit.
They could have tacked back that way.
Yeah. I wish I had pictures of that. That would probably make a nice show.
You do have photos of that?
I have lots of slides that I need to convert over to some, images so I can.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I need to do that.
I haven't seen it. I have not. I don't have one photo of that trip. That would be cool.
Oh, Tina, what you said. Oh, I don't think a Marine's going to take kindly to that. You better hope.
No, that's not. He does not count as a sailor. Do not tell him you said that.
They're part of the Navy, but they don't claim each other much. That's a funny relationship.
They're in the Department of the Navy, and they always say they're the men's department.
I can't remember who. I've worked with both over the years, ex-sailors and Marines, and I can't remember which one of them you say, oh, yeah, you're the lower form of Marine life or something to that effect. They don't,
It's a weird deal. We always had good friends that were Swabbies that were, in the Navy that lived right there with us, that we always had good friends. But man, they take that stuff serious. It's like,
I'm sure to some extent it's all in good fun, but I think sometimes it goes a little bit deeper than that from what I've seen.
I saw my father and one other Marine whoop 6 sailors.
Oh, man.
Right in front of me. And Dad has a big old ropey scar across his his knuckles, there was this one sailor they called Chip because he had big old buck teeth, and Dad removed them for him. But they cut his knuckles when he
I
did
bet
that.
they did. Tina's dad was Navy, so he would have agreed with you. I would cheerfully claim. I said that. Wait, I can't run that fast. Never mind. Yeah, you got to be careful about what you say, and not to get personal, Tina. But once you get older, you're not as fast as you think you once were.
As you
I
used
think I'm a lot faster than I am, and I ain't fast at all. I never was very fast.
I still think I have great balance, etc. And it's like,
Yeah,
and
I know.
stuff doesn't work the way it used to.
No, it doesn't. Things just don't.
But
Things
I
don't.
feel like I graduated from high school like last week. So,
Well, somewhere up here I do, but
yeah, it's all in your head.
down, it's a different story. How is it? I mean, they get me at therapy, and they try to they get me up balancing on one leg or something, and mostly I'm leaning on something. I can do it. I can do it all day long if I can sit down and lean on something. Thank you, Carol, for doing that. My dad was Army, so I don't. Or back to the military thing. My dad was Army, and I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, they don't have the rivalry, except certain individual sections of the Army.
Yeah. There's some that do.
So if you're a Marine and the Army guy's like an airborne guy, you'll have a rivalry there.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, there's that kind of level of rivalry, but it is all in good fun. My good buddy Creekmore, that he retired as a, I don't know, first sergeant, or I don't know what the Air Force ranks are, but he flew bulldozers for the Air Force, as he said. He was an engineer, and he drove bulldozers, and he drove, all kind of heavy equipment and built stuff.
Yeah, I guess they just call them engineers in the Air. You say Air Force?
Yeah, he was in the Air Force as an engineer.
So yeah, in the Navy you'd be a CB, I think. I guess
you'd be a CB, and if you're in the Marine Corps like Dad was a combat engineer, so he's out looking for mines. That's what he did.
Yeah.
But they Creekmore would do classes. He'd get sent to like Florida or somewhere to do classes, and it would always be an inter-service class. And he got lots of Marines that came to those classes, and of course a lot of Air Force guys, and he would make them sit every other one so they couldn't sit together. And make them work together,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because they had to. When they went to the sandbox, they darn sure had to. But
was this in the Guard, or was he still active?
No, it was when he was in the Air Guard.
Air Guard, okay, that's what I was thinking, maybe.
But he deployed 3 times for like a year, 3 years over there.
Always in the same place?
No, he went all over.
Hey, did I ever show you these honking big scissors I got?
Where'd those come from?
Well, I've had them for a little while.
They look like DeWalt's.
No, actually, they're Fiskars.
Oh, they're big old Fisker shears.
Man, they have got they got a heck of an edge in them, and so far, I don't know what I skinned. I got hair on that one. I don't know what I was cutting.
As long as your daughters or your wife don't use them to cut paper, they'll stay sharp forever.
Well, they're not anywhere they can find them. I keep them out here.
That's
I cut through leather and stuff.
My good leather one's hid.
I don't have to. Nobody else is out here, so I don't have time for anybody but myself. And I just dropped something.
Probably them scissors.
No, that'd have made a louder clunk. This is more like a chink. Oh well, I'll find it later. I reckon.
It
Air
was
Force,
a,
they just look
it
at
was
him.
a gear out of one of your pocket watches.
Oh no, I don't want to hear that. Don't want to think that. There, I was training all of my friend. It was in the Air Force. One of his sons became a Marine, and the other went to the Army. Oh wow, that's a fun family for gatherings.
Ron keeps asking what was wrong with them.
What was wrong with the Air Force? What was wrong with the Air Force? They just look at him and look at each other and grin. I bet they do. That's moving it around pretty good if you consider the Marines a part of the Navy. I mean, which they are technically, and then you put Army and Air Force in there, that pretty much covers it all. That's a funny thing. I don't remember ever really having that. Maybe I was too young to remember anything, but my dad was Army, and I think both of his brothers. He had two brothers and two sisters. I think both his brothers were Air Force. I think one of them might have been Army.
Hey, boys, quit.
Most of the ones on my mom's side, they were all Army, as far as I know. Hey, Maple Bacon has joined.
From the Great White North, he's
wait, let's read this here. He's making some kind of excuse about donuts. Stuck at the drive-thru, went to order donuts for us all, and they told me they were all out because Tim was there with Mark. Did they now? That's what they said exactly, word for word, I bet.
I got all the cream horns.
Well, I got the maple glaze. Mark Maple Dakin eats those, but his wife don't like them, so.
I got the cream horns and the lemon filled.
Now, Brenda might fight you over lemon filled. I like them okay too, but she really likes them. Yeah, so far, I'm missing a representative of the Coast Guard and Space Force. I still don't even count the Space Force.
There's still a chance.
Yeah. But I
don't have any Coast Guard people I've had people in the Air Force and the Marine Corps and the Army and the Navy, but nobody from the Coast Guard. But we didn't grow up on the coast. I think a lot of those Coast Guards, not all of them certainly, but a lot of them grow up in those coastal towns.
That would make sense. I tell you what,
and they love that branch of the military because they save everybody's bacon, including the Navy. And
I saw a really good. I don't know if it was a YouTube video I was watching or if it was actually something on TV, but it was about the deep water, not deep water. It was about the rescue folks that
rescue swimmer guys.
Well, not just swimmers, but the boats and the crews that are trained and the boats they build just for that,
right?
Water rescues and stuff on the ocean. And I tell you what, those guys got my respect because I
guarantee if you live in Alaska or you live in North Carolina or anywhere in the Carolinas or Georgia, those people are walk on water. I mean,
yes, absolutely. Yeah, people don't count the Coast Guard, but they're all in. Yeah, people. I think there was a long time when I didn't realize exactly where the Coast Guard fit into that. But they do. They are involved in a lot of stuff they served in Vietnam.
Yeah, they go over. Well, they serve the only Medal of Honor awarded to a Coast Guardsman was in Guadalcanal.
Oh, was it?
and he came in and he saved a bunch of Marines, including Chesty Puller, as I recall.
Huh.
And he posthumously, he wouldn't leave. He just stayed on the gun and wouldn't leave, and posthumously he got the Medal of Honor. So,
Oh wow.
so look that one up someday. That's a fascinating tale. And then
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
probably a lot more of them should have over the years. And when desert or when after 9/11, they put, I don't know how many of them went through SEAL training, went through BUDS and SEAL training, and became Coast Guard SEALs working domestic, on the domestic front.
Yeah.
And but I think they discontinued that program after a while. But
I'm surprised because with all the issues of piracy and that kind of thing
that was what they were worried about, was attacks on the West Coast and on the East Coast, and anyway, neither here nor there. It's I don't know why they discontinued the program, but there were several of them that were Coast Guard SEALs.
Cool.
Because they do a lot of law enforcement on the water.
Yeah, they do. They do that.
People don't realize.
I think I used to think that was about all they did, but then I found out that they
rescue's their main goal. That's what they've been. That's why they were established, was for rescue. And yeah. Anyway, if you got a hurricane that hit your place and you live on the coast, you want those boys and girls to be there, guaranteed.
Or if you're out there just tooling along in your little.
I mean, they were at Katrina forever.
Oh yeah. All right, Lid, go on there. About to cuss. Well, speaking of all that,
let's talk.
Let's
talk about rodeo.
Yeah, we're going to talk about rodeo, but we're going to talk about one other thing real quick first. If I can get it pulled up here, and I should be able to. La-di-da-di-da-di-da. Let's see here now. Bing, all that stuff. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'm sure you guys are. And keep your hand off that trigger, Tim. Dang it. Pearl Harbor Day. Today is, tell me I'm not wrong, it is the 7th of December, is it not?
It is indeed.
Pearl Harbor Day. So I wanted to make sure I put that in there today. I'm not sure exactly. I borrowed that picture, obviously, from somebody at the Pearl Harbor.
There you go again.
Yeah, I know. Keep your hand off that trigger. I pulled it. They had several. There's quite a bit of information on different activities, most of which happen at Pearl, but they do.
Is that the Arizona? Is that the monument at the Arizona?
It is. Up in that left corner, it sure is. And a lot of it happens there. They do a lot of ceremonial stuff out there for that. I mean, at that monument. And then this picture's got, of course, B-17s, the Air Force, the Army Air Corps, actually, back then.
Yeah.
Got hammered hard at
burning on the darn tarmac.
Yeah. And I don't know what battleship that is. Obviously, it wasn't. Well, it could have been one of the ones that got sunk, because they resurrected several of those. Excuse me. I was just reading about. I don't want to get too far off subject, but I was reading my that Ghost, what is it, Ghost Warriors?
Those soldiers.
Old Soldier book, and they were just talking about what happened, how part of what happened at the Philippines and the Navy, or how the
It happened right at the same time.
yeah, they basically started bombing the same time they hit Hawaii, and they the Air Force got even more surprised at, I guess, at the Philippines than it did on Hawaii. They got a couple airplanes off the ground, but out there they didn't. I don't know if they got anything off the ground. They got slammed, and that was the end of that. After that, the Japanese had total control of the air, which pretty much meant they had control of everything at that point. But anyway,
and then they got to meet Corsairs. Congratulations.
Yeah, eventually. They certainly did.
They got to meet Pappy Boynton and his boys.
So it's what we are, but the main topic today, because guess what time it is? I know you guys all have your rodeo trees up and your decorations around the saddle and all that stuff, because it's time for the National Finals Rodeo again.
It's at NFR time.
I'm sure that, I just know everybody remembered. And I just threw these up for just kind of how this is. They have the rodeo inside this stadium, Thomas and Mack Center at UNLV, which is one reason it's a smaller arena for this kind of stuff. But it's bigger than some I've seen. But I just
it's tiny, man.
Well, I know it, but
all those timed events, golly, you better get it done real quick, or it ain't happening.
Where is it they do? I think it's in New Mexico. They call it the Pit. You have to go in on like the upper, your ground level, and you have to actually walk down to the
Albuquerque.
And I think that's might be even smaller, but I don't know if they do anything besides ride bulls there anymore. But those they probably do, because out there rodeo is a regular thing. Our house is full of Christmas mode. Diana did a great job this year decorating again.
We have just stuff everywhere.
And you don't have anything out for the rodeo, Mike?
My wife loves every holiday and has stuff for every holiday. Bins and bins and bins of stuff. But Christmas is the big one.
Oh, yeah.
27 bins.
27 bins. Oh, my goodness. My wife, I'm going to tell Brenda that when she gets up or gets on here. I want her to know that.
there's not an inch of this house that doesn't have something cool hanging.
Well, now that you mention that, I see Christmas stuff right behind your shoulders.
Right behind me, yeah.
I see red candles and
then we got the. I don't know if you can see it. There's the Charlie Brown tree.
Christmas tree, yeah.
We have a big tree in the living room, and
good morning, Kay.
We got to go adventuring and looking at snowshoe hares and cut trees up on the mountain, and
cool.
That was good.
I wish I could do that these days. Kay, what's it like down your way weather-wise? We've heard from Georgia, and it's cold, ish at least down there. For them, it's cold. It's cold here. Yesterday was 14 here. I was really, and last night I went out to walk home, as I say, from here to the house from the library, and I stepped out on the porch here to lock the door and go, and all my handrails and everything were frosted plumb over. So I was like, "Oh, this is not good. I want to slip and fall, You're an
slip and fall, and then you can't get back to your key.
I'd be ruined. I'd be laying there on the ground because I think Brenda's probably asleep. Well, she might have been awake watching.
You look like
actually, I got to tell this for her. Actually, I walked in the house, and she was sitting there on the couch, and she was watching a movie because I said something to the effect of, "You could come over and offer a crippled man some help." I was having a little trouble getting in the door with all my crap, and she said, "Well, I'm watching a movie." I said, "What are you watching?" And she was watching the Full Monty, which she had never seen, and she happened to catch it online
And she probably just loved it.
Oh, she was giggling and laughing about it, and I ended up sitting down watching all the last half hour of it, I guess. Well, I ate a snack because I was kind of hungry. I'd been out here a long time yesterday, no food. Oh, I'm trying to get that. Wait a minute, Mike. We'll come back to that. Don't forget that.
I could just see you laying out there like old Trapper Jack.
Froze up like
the bear. This rifle killed the bear that killed me.
Yeah. Man, he's sitting there with his rifle froze in his fingers. Yeah, that would be me laying out there on
Hawken rifle, 54 caliber Hawken rifle.
Yeah, he got him a real. That was the legend for that movie, and that for Jeremiah Johnson in that case, Liver Eaton Johnson in real life. In that movie, a 54 caliber Hawken was the rifle. So Mike, let's go back to Mike. But yeah, that laying out there on the grass as I frosted over with
would be awesome, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, let's talk about this. I'm trying to get down and get a horse trailer, and we can decorate it, put it in the front yard.
You could just think about all the Christmas lights you could hang on it.
Oh yeah. And I'd say, Mike, if you work that just right, you could probably sleep out there the rest of your life. Just a guess. Just a guess. So make sure you got a heater before you decorate it.
Yeah, it needs some living quarters.
Carol said, "That'd definitely be something, all right." Yeah. Let's wait till Diana weighs in on this. Eddie says that it's 42 feels like 34. It was in the 20s this morning. Yeah, it was 21 here, coldest I saw. And actually, that was on my phone, which I believe are from NOAA radar weather. I think it's at the airport up here, which is a few miles from the house, a little local airport. It's usually where they do that. And it was 21, but yesterday it was here at the house. Our thermometer at the house said 14. And not 100% sure how accurate that is, but it was close because when I looked at my phone then, it was still pretty close to 14.
I'm so glad you guys are enjoying some of the love.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. And we actually had a little bit of snow last week too. Or what day was that? Was that before Saturday or was that after Saturday that happened? I can't remember now. We had some.
You told me it was before Saturday, I think.
Okay. We had a little bit. Some places didn't get any. Some places had about an inch, but by the time the sun came up here, it was just enough that it was gone before 10 o'clock. Probably before 8 o'clock, actually. So it didn't last very long. But it's been hovering in the freezing range now for a week or so. But when it gets down to 14 and 21, it kind of reminds me of my younger days when I thought that was fun and a good time was to be had. I still think that's probably true, but I can't appreciate it like I used to.
You could go out. I can remember going out in them farm ponds, that were everywhere where we grew up. And everybody had a farm pond. And I can remember going and getting on the ice and literally seeing snapping turtles like crawling across the bottom of the pond.
Under the ice.
And they were moving so slow, we'd just chip the ice out and catch those turtles in the winter, which, I mean, that's not normal.
No, that's not normal.
It's not normal. It's not normal human behavior anymore. Number one.
No, no,
But
it's
it,
not.
like seeing a turtle like crawling on across the bottom, it's like, why are you even alive?
Good morning, John. Surf Bum has joined us. Mike, I got to tell you something, my friend. I love the fact that you have embraced this and you're really thinking now. You're not just jumping out there and telling Diana you're going to go get a horse trailer. You're really working this thing. You're right. It's a multi-use thing to have. Every house should have. You're right. Every house should have a horse trailer.
We use them for all kinds of things.
And Mark's got some he just uses for property decoration, I think.
We have,
because they're not his. Somebody left them there. I'm just kidding, but
no, but they did. I finally got rid of one of them, so that was good.
Oh, me. Well, I was going to tell Mike something. Let me see here. I've noticed that this year, it's not on this sign. This is probably not the current. There is apparently a new horse trailer sponsor. And I know there's several of the athletes, the rodeo folks have them for their horses and they are living in them. I can't think of the name of it. I'll look and find it in a minute. Haley Kenzel, for one, I saw an advertisement for her. So, Mike, there's a new one. There's not a new. I'm sure they've been around for a while, but there's one right now. It's a sponsor, one of the many sponsors, of course, for the NFR or PRCA. And that's a good one to check into. I'll get you that information. I'll make sure you see that. And you can show Diana that if it's good enough for these lady horse riders, barrel racers and whatnot, she could feel proud going out in a horse trailer.
Because they're fancy people.
Absolutely.
Most of those gals, certainly these top 15, they're.
Oh, yeah. So anyway,
there's a lot of kids this year, a lot of rookies in that.
Yeah, we're seeing a real turnover. I mean, I guess we got to realize that we're not pups anymore either. Explains it, but yeah, there's a real turnover. In all the events, there's a lot of change now coming. It's the guys and some of the people that I feel like I've watched for 20 years are passing the torch or going on TV. And that sort of thing.
But we still got a gal in the top 15 that's 66 years old.
Yes, Donna K. Rule is amazing. I mean,
she is amazing.
And it's not been that many years ago. And I'm pretty sure she was about the time she hit 60ish. She was actually up close to the top of that.
She was going to win, I thought. I was hoping.
Yeah.
My wife was really pulling for her.
I always like to see the fact that she's made it to the big show and
she's in the top 15 in the world.
Yeah, in the world, and that's a lot. There's a lot of women out there barrel racing.
There's a lot of barrel racers.
Anyway, and these are some young ladies that help with things like opening ceremonies. And there you can see a lot of the different sponsors: Polaris, Heston. And I have to say this: growing up, one of the biggest sponsors of rodeo, that when they used to show in a very clipped version of the rodeo, one day.
Yeah, when we got one day out of the year, we got to watch.
And it was usually the final round on a Sunday, and they cut that. Heston was always or maybe it was on some evening and they did it too. Anyway, Heston was the main sponsor back then, and Heston is now part of somebody else, but they were a large farm tractor rake, hay rake, that kind of equipment manufacturer and seller. They were the big thing, and they sold. If you could go to a Heston store, you could go in and buy each year. You could buy a buckle, an NFR rodeo buckle with that year and date, that said, and usually had some event on the buckle that was special for that year. So, like 1970 might have been the bucking horses, or it might have been calf roping. And I used to want to get those so bad. I wanted to find me a Heston dealer, and there wasn't one local at that time in Johnson City. I think the nearest one there might have been one in Greenville, because I always wanted to go down there and see if they carried those buckles, because I wanted the buckle. I'm going to guess that this is what you're laughing about. Yeah, Mike, either that or a set of keys to the front door. That would do it. Just go ahead and get it, and give her the keys and surprise her. And you probably ought to just keep the keys. I mean, or make sure you have a spare
You need
set.
to make sure you've got a spare set. Yeah.
He's probably going to stuff that set somewhere you can't reach right away. But I still think it's a good idea, Mike. I really do. Anyway, I don't know where they pick up these riders, but there's a lot of women that carry flags during open ceremonies and different things like that. And these photos not often this year. I just grabbed some and pulled some out, and I don't know what year it is necessarily. One thing, if it's the NFR or the WNFR, some people call it the Wrangler National Finals, because they used to be and still are one of the major sponsors for this event. Anyway, the yellow bucking chutes, that's sort of a standard. If you're at the NFR, or if you're in a yellow bucking chute, you're probably at the NFR.
Blue gates and yellow bucking chutes. And John Stetson Lawrence broke his neck about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and he retired. He was my favorite at the time. I loved watching that kid ride. And then every time he rode one, he did a war dance. It was cool.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, and he's anyway he didn't get permanently injured with the neck break. But they're like, look, if you keep doing this, you're going to end up in a wheelchair.
Sounds like
yeah. So he did the right thing. I think he's raising bulls and running the ranch. And he's got he and his family have a great big ranch, and both, I think, North Dakota and South Dakota, both sides of the line.
We just printed a bunch of bandanas for Wrangler. They went to. Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. I'm sure they were either selling them or giving them out at their booths or different things out there. I don't know that, but I wouldn't doubt that. I'm sure there's similar things been done out there for. Out there.
Cowboy Christmas is going on there. They got more stuff in those buildings.
I don't know if I put a picture on here, but before I'm done, I think I'll try to find one. But Cowboy Christmas is a big deal. And here's the thing about this event out there. It's a big deal in Las Vegas. Maybe not the biggest, but one of the biggest, certainly, that they have out there every year. And the whole city pretty much gets turned into a cowboy town. At least that's the version of a modern cowboy town. And this stadium only holds about 17,000 people, I think. Maybe a few more, but it's not that many. I mean, as arenas go and stuff, it's not huge. Compared to a football stadium, for example, it's not that big. But yet there's 200,000 people there in town, and part of that is they're out there. Well, they're out there having a good time for one thing, but they're going to things like Cowboy Christmas, and there's events at like all the major hotels and casinos and stuff where they air the rodeo on TV in the stands. And I just saw something about Lane Frost. Yeah, Lane Frost was it. Lane Frost was. I was a fan of Lane Frost, but I didn't actually know. I didn't find because there wasn't a lot of coverage back east back then. I didn't find out he died till several weeks, I think, after it happened. But Lane Frost. You can think about him every day. If you watch rodeo, you should think about him every time you see a rider because they have. Because of Lane Frost, every bucking rider, and from what I can tell, every rough stock rider wears a vest now to protect their kidneys and their internals to some degree, at least, because of Lane Frost. That brought about those.
His death has saved a gazillion Cowboys. I mean
Yes, it
but and his buddy
has.
is the one that invented that vest.
Yeah,
Cody Lambert invented that vest, and he was a running mate with Lane.
oh, was he? Did Cody invent? Is that where that came from?
That's where it started. And, I'm sure they've done multiple improvements and done whatever.
Oh, I'm sure they have over the years. I'm sure
But
it's gotten better.
I was just wondering if John was there when Lane was killed.
I don't remember
If
what
you were still stationed out there, John, or if you were home by then. But they,
that's the main thing.
That was a bad day.
It's a big party. That's the thing about Vegas. All those extra people that can't actually get in to see the show. And I'm gonna tell you something. This is one of the hardest tickets in the country, the world, to get. I've looked for tickets for this event for 30 years probably.
Well, you got to buy them. You got to buy next year's now.
It may, and you might not even get them then. I mean,
Right.
they're just in that much demand. Again, the stadium only holds 17 to 20,000 people, and lots of people show up, but 180,000 people show up, and they go to the casinos and the bars, and they have big parties, and they're watching the rodeo there. I mean, I'll have to admit, it'd probably be a world of fun. But
so the ranch I ride for, the old man he was involved in this back when it was still in Oklahoma, back when they did the NFR at Oklahoma City. And he had live tickets, four seats right behind the buck and shoots. Literally, like you could touch the guys behind the shoots, kind of a spot.
At the NFR?
Front row seats at the NFR had 4 tickets, and he would give them out to people over the years, just like, well, I can't make it for the whole deal, but I can't be there Thursday through Friday or whatever. I'll give you my tickets for those days. And I never got in on. I got in on just the tail end of that, and never could make it. And now the family just gave them. They weren't going. Once Miles died, they quit going at all, and they gave their seats up. And I'm these are lifetime guaranteed seats right behind the buck and shoot.
Which I'm gonna throw this out there right now. I have a question, Tina or Kay. Did you ever do any for Pendleton whiskey? Because that's another big thing. They're a major sponsor of the NFR. They give commemorative bottles of that out every night at the buckle ceremony. Commemorative definition of commemorative is it means we're going to open it, drink it all right now, according to the guys that hand it out. Anyway.
That's that, and they do it right there on the stage.
Sometimes, yeah. What I was going to say was about tickets. What was I going to say? Oh, that's one of the problems with getting tickets for this event is there are so many of those lifetime seats that it's very hard to get if you're not in there. That's why it's so hard to get tickets. I'm sure if you get tickets, they're up in the nosebleed section, which would still be fun. But if you get right down behind the buck and shoots and stuff would be phenomenal. I mean, that's just that'd be unbelievable.
And I think when they went to Fort Worth that one year during COVID,
During COVID, yeah.
they there was way more room.
Well, yeah, there was a bigger
It's a
auditorium.
ginormous
Yeah.
stadium, and they got, there at the stockyards, they got.
Honestly, I thought that was one of the reasons why they might get it and it might move away from Vegas was that very reason.
And all the Cowboys are like, nope, we got to go back to Vegas. I mean, it's just
Well, it's been there a long time now.
now it's tradition. It was in Oklahoma City forever, and then it went to Vegas, and
right, and that
was it.
I really do think that the Texas bunch, and that was actually at Fort Worth. I really think they were probably making an opening.
Yeah, they were wanting it,
trying to get it, and this was an opportunity, and they took it. And but I honestly, I have to admit, I was kind of glad it went back up there. For one thing, didn't like Texas people coming up there to steal it, but I mean, I'm making that effort. But it's just been at Vegas for so long, it would seem different not to be there. Well, it was different for it not to be there, but yeah, I remember when I first started watching it, it was at Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I remember when they moved to Vegas, and back then that didn't mean much to me. And then I realized just what a big deal that really was. So, but anyway, it's grown and grown and grown. And this year, and this is, again, this probably isn't this year, but every night when it opens up, they do this, what do they call this, Mark? Present the flag. So every state that's represented, the riders and the athletes go out,
but only some of them. It's not every right. Like you'd be in there all day long if they had all the Texans in there. Seriously, I mean, they have so many representatives from Texas that they'd be.
I mean, it seems like half the people there, and if they weren't really from Texas, they are now. Because a lot of them moved to Texas to be with those different people to train and learn. And I mean, Stevensville, Texas population must have doubled in the last 10 or 15 years just from people moving down there to, be in that circle.
Just to be there where, JB Mooney's there and all these people are there.
Yeah,
and all the fancy barrels. What's that?
JB's from North Carolina. He don't even belong down there, but that's
right. But he lives there now, and his wife's from Catula, Texas, down south, down by the border. But anyway, I think they put 2 people in, if there are 2 from each state, just to represent the state of all the states that are competing, and they have. But then they say how many representatives they have from each state. And like Texas is always like, there's like 35 of them or 40 or something,
John, they don't do chuck wagon races. Good point. And that they do that. I mean, that's a big thing at some rodeos, especially Cheyenne. That's a big deal at Cheyenne. But they don't do them here.
And you're right, John. Houston is huge. And it's been huge for years. And that's a big rodeo.
And the one at the stockyards in Fort Worth, I don't know why I can't remember Fort Worth right now. That thing lasts for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it's a huge. And then now I think it kind of ends in the American, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, and Donnie Gay and his dad, they ran a rodeo there at Mesquite, right outside of Dallas, and it goes every weekend of the year. There's a rodeo there every single weekend.
Yeah, I remember that used to be on when TNT, I believe it
TNT
first started. One of the things they ran every weekend on Sunday mornings, at least, was rodeo. And or the bull riding or whatever they did, and Donnie Gay and his dad and that bunch all did that and ran that. We did a bunch for Cody Cattle Women a few months ago.
I'll be darned. Seriously?
Do you know who that is, or you know?
Oh
who?
yeah. They're like the cattle producers up in that county.
That part of Wyoming.
Yep, and and all the counties have a cattlewoman's association.
That's true, Tina. Chuck tell Chucky is absolutely right. That's another one of the biggies. It's in Canada, but there's a lot of Americans go up there to compete and win that. I know JB Mooney, who we've mentioned several times, and I'll mention again before it's over with. I know he won up there a couple of years.
I mean, there's rodeos all over, not that far from Mike and Diana, so they could go too.
Yeah, that might be a good way to do it, Mike. You might need to take Diana to a couple of big rodeos and show her how cowboys and cowgirls live. I mean, there's some nice horse trailers happening there.
Awful nice. But
that might be an idea.
John asked if they still do quarter horse racing out here, and not here, John, but they sure do it over in Utah.
Do they?
There's just way more humans over there, and
well, that's true.
But I don't see much there's no horse racing other than Indian relay in Wyoming that I know about, which is the wildest, most Western thing I could think of.
It is pretty crazy.
Those young men and women, they can sit a horse. And they're riding them bareback, and they're like, I wouldn't want them charging at me with some weapons drawn. I know that.
And here's what they're all fighting for, sort of. Everybody that wins gets a saddle, a custom-made saddle, and I'm going to guess that when it's all said and done, it's got their names on it. And this one is just kind of a generic version, but it would have the event name and their name, and that's sort of like this buckle. And this is probably not. Well, it's a steer wrestling winner. It is an official buckle, and this blank spot right here is where they would put their name and maybe the date, that sort of thing. Now, this one was from 2021, and these buckles are made by and have been made by the Montana Silversmith for about as long as I can remember.
For long, maybe forever.
And this one's not even super, well, I don't know, maybe it is. I can't see it, maybe the edges. I've seen them that have diamonds set in them and a lot of gold.
That's pretty fancy.
Yeah, well, it's also about the size of a saucer, they're not just big around. They give them out every night you get a buckle every night. They give out buckles every night during the event to the winner of the event, or winners if there's like a team roping, there's two of them, and usually the stock producers of that event, at least if they're like bucking horses or cattle or bull riders, and they get a buckle too. And
but only at the end.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The stock contractors get like stock contractor of the year or whatever at the end of the rodeo. But that saddle that you're looking at there, I mean, to me that's like there's not a lot of use of that saddle.
No, I don't disagree.
they put them up as trophies anyway, but
yeah,
the saddles they made for Cheyenne Frontier Days this year, I was so proud of them. They built like old-timey square-skirted, like Frank Meany saddles from Cheyenne.
I saw some of those.
High cantle, high pommel, high horn, old-timey looking saddles. I was like, finally, somebody's made a good-looking saddle for a rodeo trophy.
Yeah. I agree. I always thought these were kind of gaudy looking, but they were, like you said, they were trophies and they have their names on them and the event and all that kind of stuff.
And if you ride that, Tina, you're right. I don't have a lot of use for a saddle that doesn't have a use. But
well, that's true. Yeah, Mark.
If you rode that saddle right there, you'd wear a lot of leather off the tree, and it wouldn't be near as pretty.
No, but like I said, I imagine most of them either get put up or eventually sold because they need some money.
I see them all the time. On these podcasts and things, that they're just hanging there behind the Cowboy, or whoever's doing the podcast. Like, look, I won the NFR in 2022 and 2023, and they've got their saddles there. And if I won one, I wouldn't ride it either, probably.
No, well, probably not. But like Tina said,
I like my own saddles better. So.
Well, and you make working saddles. You've said many times, at least to me, you build and make saddles for guys that go out and ride them and work off of them. You're not
exactly.
But I'm going to have to say something. And your behalf, you could build a saddle that could do any of these guys proud. I think
I could build that saddle.
Calgary Stampede is really popular.
It just would eat my soul just thinking about it.
Good one, Mike. Is Tina? I mean, you're talking to Tina. Has Diana showed up yet to get on any of this conversation, Mike, or should we just knock it off for now? Just let us know if we need to, can it.
But yeah, I mean, Mike, I don't think you guys are. So Calgary,
it's a pretty good way.
You got to jump across Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And your chunk of Manitoba, and then get into Alberta. But it's cool. That's nice country. Back when you used to be able to just go to Canada with no passport or anything, we used to
still do that. It just depends on. You can still go with your driver's license. Actually, I found that out when I was going to go up there with Philip. It's
now.
Yeah, now. You sure can. Seriously, you can go, and Mexico too, as far as I know. I've got my wallet here somewhere. If you've got an official ID driver's license, which means it has a star on it,
the new ones,
then you can use that to go to Canada. And I can't remember what the other restrictions are on that, but you don't have to have a passport. I found that out when I was looking into going with Phil.
And then you can buy them ibuprofens that are like that long.
Yeah. Mike, you have fun today on your errands. Have a great weekend. I hope that we didn't Diana's not making you get off because of the whole trailer conversation. That'd be a shame because we're just getting wound up and you're getting really good at it. Really good points, Mike. If not, we'll talk about it again later, buddy.
Go see if you can take a photograph of the lynx for me today.
You do what? Did I say that again?
Go take a photograph of the lynx for me.
Oh, yeah, that'd be real nice. I'd like that too. So the first event everything is a bareback ride, and I just thought this was a classic photograph of a bareback rider.
He got no hat on anymore.
Got no hat.
He's got his neck brace on. This is the hardest event on the body of any of the rough stock events. Bulls are easier to ride, but they'll hurt you worse when you get on the ground. That's the danger zone.
And these guys hurt you before you.
These guys get hurt. Just the ride will hurt them. And
I suspect it's also because they fall so much further to get to the ground. But that's not.
They do. Most people don't understand that bulls are short.
Yeah, they're not that high off the ground. Now you get flung, and some people go pretty high. But
yeah, you can get, if they hook you wrong or they kick you wrong, you can go way far away.
But these guys, I was watching last night, and I think it was bareback. It could have been saddle, but there was somebody getting on a horse. It was one of the early riders, and that horse was above the buck and shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, these buck and shoots are what, about 6 feet tall?
Yeah. And
The horse was taller than his back. I'm not talking about his head. I'm talking about his back was above the buck and shoot rail. That's a big horse.
And a lot of these old bucking horses are, especially if they come out of Canada, they got a bit of draft horse in them, so they're tall. Yeah. And rock pounders, they call them, and boy howdy, they had some good ones last night.
Tina said we have what's called enhanced driver's licenses here. We were going to get them, but they said eventually you wouldn't be able to use them to fly, so we got passports instead. Well, that's good information. I knew that was another thing, but passports, as Mark knows, they're not cheap. You gotta buy the things. They don't give them away. But when I was getting mine, because I went ahead and signed up to get one when I thought I might be able to go to Canada, and that's when I found out, well, you don't have to have one to go to Canada right now, at least driving. Now, I don't know about flying, but if you're driving across the border, you still can. That may change again. Who knows? The last day for use for the extended driver's license.
And it's always helpful just to have a passport.
Well, it probably is. I'm going to get Brenda one. I'm not sure where we'll ever go, but we were talking about doing that recently. But anyway, these guys, they're riding what's called a bareback horse, and I don't think I got a piece of rigging, but basically all they've got is this front strap here and this big old wooden rawhide covered handle they hang on to. And they jam their hand in there with a big old glove everything's so stiff they're just literally locked onto that horse, which is amazing that they can get flung plumb off of it. I'm surprised they don't rip their arm right out of the socket.
Yeah, because they rosin up that glove. And
ours don't cost hardly anything down here. Less than $10 or $15 maybe. I'm not even sure. I don't know what they are right now. I just got mine renewed a while back, but they're not very expensive down here. So, again, Tennessee. And there you can see the rigging a little bit better. See that guy's this left. He's got his hand down. And from the color of that shirt, makes me think he might be from Utah. At least.
I don't think that's one of the boys.
You don't think that's one of the right family?
No.
Okay. I noticed the horse is part of the Calgary. That's another thing. This is Calgary Stampede stock, and they there's a lot of Canadian stock animals come down, that are part of this event that perform or compete here. And I want to say this: the animals actually do compete in these events. They get ranked and they get marked and they get bought and sold based on their performances. And breeding is a huge thing.
For hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes. And this is the agony afterwards. You can see that big old glove I was talking about. See that white stuff there all over that? That's rosin where they cake that thing full of rosin and then jam it in that saddle. And it's just a big old, I don't know how they get it out of there.
He's all taped up and.
Oh, yeah. And he's got that neck brace on, which almost all of them, maybe all of them now wear that. They didn't used to do that. I can remember when only one or two Cowboys I remember ever wearing. You remember Will Lowe?
Yeah, I know.
He was one of the first guys I ever saw wear a neck roll or neck.
That keeps them from getting whiplash.
Oh yeah, I know why. Yeah, I know why it's there. But
if you're a saddle bronc rider, you don't have the chance of whiplash like you do with a bareback horse. So
no, it's funny. You'd think it'd be a similar event, but it's really different. They're really different. So anyway,
very different.
And then you get steer wrestling, and this guy, I thought you'd like this picture too. That's Will Loomis.
That's big old Will Loomis from Mississippi.
He's from Mississippi, and he's right now this year. I think he said this is his 7th NFR appearance. He's never won. He's been second, I think, 2 or 3 times. But he's come in leading a couple of times, but didn't win this year. He's really showing strong, and right now he is leading in the points, and I'd like to see him win it.
I'd love to see him win. Because he's got, I think he said last night he's got maybe 3 or 4 more at max.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah,
then he'll be done. And he's the head coach for the rodeo team at Northwest Community College in Mississippi. So,
yeah, and I think he comes from a long line of educators in that sense. I think his dad or his Uncle Bob or somebody was.
Uncle Bob was a steer wrestler. I don't know if he was a coach or not, but
he might not have been. But I was thinking he was. But anyway, he's coming off the side of that horse and get that steer. He's going to wrap an arm around this right horn if he can catch it, and the other one's going to grab this horn, and the 2 of them are going to wrestle around in the dirt till he gets the cow or the steer down on his side.
He's going to grab that right horn with the right hand, and then he's going to take his left hand, put it underneath the chin of that animal.
Oh, well, yeah.
And flip him over, and then all 4 feet have to be pointing out. You always hear Joe Beaver talking about hanging a leg. Oh, he hung a leg, where like 3 of the 4 legs were pointing
and
correctly, and that 3rd leg was underneath the animal or whatever, and
they don't stop the clock. This is a timed event, and they don't stop the clock till all 4 legs are out. So if you got one hung up, you gotta
get him unhung.
Yeah, or you don't count. So, but this is, and they do this, and I think this year the fast times have been in the high 3s, maybe, or low 4s so far.
I saw 3.6 last night.
Yeah, I mean 3.6 seconds. That's pretty fast to ride, launch yourself out, not break a barrier, which is you lose 10 points for that, or 10 seconds or whatever it is. I mean, it's all over if you do that. And catch that thing, roll it over, and get scored. And they do it all. And if you're winning, you're doing it in under 4 seconds, basically.
I remember they used to have a joke, and an old bulldogger told me the first time I'd ever heard the joke, he was like, this is how you train for steer wrestling. You get a buddy that's got an old pickup truck with a running board on the side of it, and you get him going 40 miles an hour down a gravel road, and the first mailbox you come to, you jump off on it.
Maybe that's what happened to mine. I had to put a new one up. Maybe somebody tried to bulldog my mailbox.
Was bulldogging your mailbox.
That's about right, though. That's about how it works.
He's still in the daggone stirrup.
He's still got 1 foot in the stirrup. The other leg's not, though. Look where it's at up here.
Yeah, I see where it is.
We'll get to that next.
It was a good steer wrestling horse there. Stayed right with the steer.
Yep. And these horses sell for hundreds,
a lot of money,
thousands of dollars, and half the guys there may be riding the same 1 or 2 horses, and they pay extra. I mean, they rent basically for these things for an event. I saw
Big Will Loomis. He's riding. I think it's his horse. Swamper is the name of the horse, and then I saw another guy yesterday that was on him too. So,
Tina, we're not paying anywhere near that. I don't know what a CDL is down here now, but I don't think it's anywhere near $340.
Oh yeah, we're not. Us either.
Motorcycles. All right, it's a score. I got to chase it. Let me see.
$145. Wow. Squirrel.
Squirrel.
See you, John.
Tell you, John, thanks for coming in, buddy.
Hopefully you're going to catch your lunch.
Does it cost that much every time you just have to renew it, Tina? Well, where's the fee? Where's the cost here, buddy? Let's I don't know. There's how to renew, but I don't see a thing about cost. This is my fault, isn't it? I opened this can of worms. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Non-commercial. I'm not sure what a D operator is. Motorcycle is up to $30 here now. That's good for 8 years. A DM operator, just a general operator's license with motorcycle, is 55 now, so that's a lot more. They didn't used to be anywhere near that, so they've gone up, but they're still cheaper than you guys. Anyway, so there you go. Let's see. I said bye to John. Okay. So then I put down here that this is the tools of the trade. The next event you'd see in the order of succession here, and this is not necessarily that, but it's the team roping where you got two guys. I've got a picture here, but this rope right here, these lariats or lassos or whatever the hell they call them now. If you're a cowboy,
It's a rope.
It's a rope. This is the
rope.
And these aren't just regular ropes; they're special. And I see them and I see how stiff they are. But then when I see them flip them out here over a cow's head, you see all these twists and bends. They don't look stiff and like they do when you're just handling them. They just look like almost like wire.
Well, and the more you use them, the more cable-like they become. So they only have a certain lifespan. You got to get a new rope.
Oh, I figured that, but
I like Buck Brannaman makes a kind of a soft horse rope that I like to use because it doesn't get cable-like like these traditional kind of ropes.
Well, anyway, what happens?
We're $45 here for a driver's license.
How often do you have to do that?
Every 5 years.
Yes, ours is good for 8, so they've actually kept backing that up. It used to be 5, and now it's 8, and so we're still pretty cheap in that regard. Anyway, the guy on our right here, he's the header. He's supposed to catch the steer by the horns, or there's several catches that are legal. I think they can do a round the neck head catch too, I believe. Still, and the guy in the back is called the healer. I think I grabbed a couple of pictures of. And he's this guy on the left, and that big old loop there he's building up there. This guy's going to spin that steer around. Oh, come on. I guess I didn't.
He's just going to turn him towards him.
And that other guy is going to throw that loop out there and actually throw it underneath him and bring it up on his hind legs. And if you do it right, you catch both hind legs and you pull the steer out between your horses, and you've got him. You catch one leg, it's a penalty. Gets no legs, it's a big penalty, and that's a no time.
That's no time.
You're
But
out money.
you take that bigger loop you're using for heeling and just feed it down there. They say call it setting a trap, and you're setting that loop. It's standing up vertically, and then when that steer, he's moving, you get that in front of his back legs, and then you got to be quick to grab both of them. And
Yeah, it's pretty. If you never watched it, you ought to check it out sometime because it is a lot of.
It's sporty and it's very cool to watch these
It
guys.
is, and these guys can. Did you see? Speaking of that, last night, the winners of this event was an amazing catch.
Oh yeah,
The header guy, and he said last night on the buckle ceremony, he said, I thought I'd missed him. Period. He said, I was late to the barrier. That guy has a barrier that he can't cross until the steer has reached the end of that line. I don't know if you see it, but it's behind him coming out of his backside there, it looks like, and it runs to the chute. And it's hooked onto a rope that runs across in front of the header. And he can't he can't break that rope till that steer is out, which on this picture, I think he might have broke it.
you can see the barrier there, right there where the horse.
But last night, the guy said he was late to getting to the barrier. In other words, they want to hit that barrier just as soon as that steer breaks it. And he was late, so he just decided to fling that rope out there. And he was still about where that guy is, or maybe even not even to the rope yet, barrier yet, but he flung it out there and caught that steer just outside the chute, really. And then the heeler got him, and I don't remember what their time was, but it was just an amazing throw.
3.6. It was
3.6.
it was the fastest run I'd ever seen at the NFR.
I mean, it was just, man, it was so good. And then after that, we got saddle bronc riding, and this is a whole different thing from the bareback guys. And these guys actually ride a saddle compared to the bareback guys, at least it's a saddle. And they, instead of putting their hand in the rigging down here like the bareback guys do, they actually have I don't want to call that a bridle rope, but they have a rein, yeah. And if the horse don't pull that out of your hand and you can hang on to it for 8 seconds and keep everything timed, then you've got a fair chance of riding the horse out. But it's not as simple as it sounds by me telling it. That's what the saddle looks like that they use. So it's real plain. I guess the swells, I guess, are designed to help them lock their legs in, or
so there's just a swell you can lock your knees in there, and then there's no horn on these saddles,
which is something I've learned recently.
Dang, that would hurt.
Oh, dang, that would hurt. Yes, it would.
Yes, it does.
It hurts too at times if they get pulled across it the wrong way. Which is something I've learned recently about saddles, and that I grew up riding horses and ponies and things, and everything there was 2 saddles. In my mind, there was 2 saddles. There was a Western style saddle, which I thought was best, and there was an English saddle, which I thought was crap, unless you were a show pony rider, which my cousins rode, and they didn't have a horn, and their English style saddles are much smaller, lighter, thinner, and they're different. But what I've learned back here in the last 50 years, is a lot of saddles now that the people ride, like mountain riding and trail riding, are more like this. They don't have horns on them a lot of times.
Right. Well, the only reason to have a horn is if you're going to rope something.
Well, we always figured something.
God forbid you reach down there and grab it to hang on.
Here, I thought it might be my wife. Well, I was always taught.
Carol's asking why they don't wear gloves. Their hands are gloves, Carol.
Yeah. know if that's a rule or not, but he's like he said, their hands are. They've been doing this so long, and their hands just one big callus. And it's got a lot of rosin on it, and this rope's got rosin on it. That's something new I've seen the last couple of years, and the right boys do this, is they weave their fingers into their rein rope now.
Yeah, and they're not rosining that rein.
They're not? Okay.
No, and that's why, it'll get pulled. If that horse gets heavy headed, it'll pull that rein down through their hand and get longer, and then they just lose their cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't. You gotta hang on, and they all have a special rein measurement for every horse.
And when that horse drops his head, which it does as soon as it comes out of the gate, if you don't have that rein rope measured out right and you don't have a hold of it in the right place, it's going to come out of your hand, or at least it's going to slide down your hand.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, the 4 guys that rode that horse before you did, you talked to those boys and like, what was your rein measurement? Nobody tells them what the rein measurement is. They just learn it the hard way.
Yeah. It's a science all unto itself.
They don't need no stinking gloves. That's right, Tina. They don't need
no stinking gloves. I already showed that, didn't I?
Yeah, they got one. They got one soft hand and one hard hand.
Yeah. Now this guy's wearing a glove, but he's handling a rope, a different kind of. It's not a rein; it's a throwing rope. And this is calf rope, and this is a single guy. Nope, not 2, but 1. He's going to rope a small calf, or I think they do this with steers too, of a certain size. I don't know how big they let them get, but anyway. And I'll show you what they're roping. And then they've got to get off their horse, get to the calf, and tie the calf in a certain amount of time, in the shortest amount of time they can legally. And there's all kinds of rules about that too, how they have to catch it, if they throw it too hard, if it hits the ground too. I mean, there's just some stuff I don't even know how they figure out anymore.
Well, they got a jerk down rule now that you can't, if you go to a little local rodeo, you'll still see them jerking calves down.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to do that here.
Well, two people got eliminated Monday night for that.
Yeah. And so that I don't remember when that rule came out. It's been 8 or 10 years ago now. And
yeah. But you didn't used to see it very often. I mean,
and they run down that rope. They grab that rope and run down it as hard as they can run.
Like right here, this guy's coming off his horse. Still got 1 foot in the saddle. Joe Beaver said he needs to stay in that side. And Joe Beaver would say, stand in that stirrup just a little bit longer, let that rope feed out and get just right so the calf don't get jerked down. It just comes around. But he's starting to hit the ground with this foot, and he's got to hold that rope. The other end of that rope is tied to the horse's saddle. And he's going to come down that rope and then do this. And then the end result is a tied calf.
Yeah, so that one photo there where he's picking up the calf, that's called flanking the calf. And then you put 2 wraps and a hooey, as they call it, on those 3 of the calf's legs. Yeah, and then he's got to stay tied. You got to step off, let the slack off from your horse, and he's got to stay tied for a certain
Oh, and that was something else. There were 2 really good runs the other night, first night.
But they both got no times because their calves got untied.
So slack. And I'll admit, I thought one of them, they kind of waited a long time to decide if he was going to get up, but they counted it anyway, or didn't count it.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and so did Joe Beaver.
Yeah.
He's like, man, that calf's been down there laid tied for a long time.
Yeah, he's not supposed to have to lay, 5 seconds or something?
Yeah.
Supposed to count. But anyway, you're always going to have some controversy at any event. But anyway, this is how it works. And this clock don't start running until he's hands are up and the calf's tied and he's off of him, and then he's got to walk back to his horse and get on his horse and then
step forward
and slacken the line, the noose line, and then a judge will drop a flag when it's good, or not drop a flag, or whatever they do with the flag. And if you don't get up, and it doesn't take. And then they get run. Then a guy runs in there, and a couple guys run in there, and they untie them real quick and let them go. But this is how this and with most of these events were real cowboy events. I mean, you've done this, not like this, but you may have. But I mean,
I've never done.
You have gone out and branded calves.
I've just done the branding and roping calves in a branding pen.
Well, I didn't know if you'd ever just goofed around doing it to see, with somebody or whatever. But the whole point here was to brand the calves. Now these days, I guess they do still brand calves, but they also give them shots and all kinds of stuff. And this is this year's spring calves or winter's calves, that they're bringing down out of the gathering up after the winter, and they get all the new calves out and they count them and brand them and do whatever they do. Mark can speak to that better than me.
Sell them.
And what?
And sell them.
And sell them, yeah. And then we got barrel racing. And barrel racing is a whole thing unto itself. It's this isn't what I'd call cowboy work. This was probably cowboy sport at one point. And it's predominantly a women's event, but I do see men riding this in some of the smaller rodeos. Your dad's ridden some barrel.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty popular back east.
Yeah, my cousin used to ride barrels.
It's like, my sister and my niece, her oldest daughter, well, both of them actually, both her daughters rode barrels and did pole bending and all kind of weird things. Which
is interesting.
Which is not a sport at a big rodeo typically, but the dad rode a bit. And like I said, it's kind of popular back east for to have a men's division or whatever. And you'll never see it out here. It's just like, no, that's a woman's sport. I mean, that's just how they look at it. Like, well, we got, men have their own deal that they do, and women have their own deal that they do. Like I wish some of these calf ropers that, the event we just talked about, were as good with a rope as some of these gals that do the breakaway roping. Golly, they can rope.
I think this year, somebody threw a calf in them like 1 point something seconds, not through a calf, but and what he's talking about breakaway roping has now become, at least nationally, it's been around for a long time, but now they actually have a national finals event for that. It's not held here during this event, but they held it 2 or 3 days prior to this event starting. And they lasso the calf, it's running. Then they release they just, let the rope play out, and it's got a flag on the end. And when it breaks off, that's when their time counts. And somebody caught one in like a second and a half or something.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
Fast.
They're just swinging that loop one time and boom, they got it.
Yeah, if they're swinging it more than once, and especially more than twice, they ain't winning the money. That's just, it's not going to happen. But answer Tina, you can probably answer Tina's question better. I think yes. Well, yeah, it's a lot of it. I mean,
it's to show that you're like a horsewoman.
Yeah.
You're handy horseback, and that you got a good horse. And
it's all.
I mean, it's just like, and these gals are serious competitors.
And you're right to another extent, Tina, in that a lot of these women who race also train and raise horses to sell to other barrel racers. And almost all the ones that are running now, they talk about, being trainers. And
they're all riding their own horses.
Yeah, and they're all riding if they're in that line of work, they're riding their own horses because they want to showcase them. There's some lady there this year, and I can't remember her name, but she's riding, and she's been training for years, and some of her horses have made it to the NFR, but she's only been in a couple of NFR events. She hasn't qualified, but I don't know how hard she was trying the whole time. I mean, I think she was more interested in the horses and doing that part. And I can't remember who that is. They were talking about her the other day. But anyway, almost all of them train and ride their own horses, and then they showcase. They don't necessarily sell all their horses. Like the lady right now that's won both nights, her name's
Haley Kenzel.
Haley Kenzel. She's riding a horse named Sister, or called Sister. I'm sure she's got a name about this long if you looked at the paperwork, but she goes by Sister, and she is really good. And I'm sure that horse ain't for sale ever.
And she's a big old blonde-headed horse.
Oh my God,
Barbie doll looking Palomino, kind of a horse, and she is fast. She's just lightning fast.
Oh, and
has been for years. So.
Yeah, she's been good for several years. I mean, Haley's won 2-3 times maybe on her.
Maybe more than that.
Twice before, and I think 3 times. And right now she's leading again, and she's won the first two nights. That's a good start. But they get judged on, this is all about speed though. The rider, while showcased and her ability to ride and train a horse is on show, it's all a timed event. So if you get to the rope to the timing fast enough, you're going to win. So it's not all. There's no.
It better be in the low 13 seconds. They ride around 3 barrels. They can't knock them down. They can touch them, but they can't knock them down. And the times that are winning are like low 13s, 13.3s, 13, and that's it's a pretty good run.
Yeah, I think 13.38 or something now this year, I believe. There's been 2 of those. And Haley rode first night. I think hers was 13.38, but maybe it was 13.35. It was a pretty quick time. And last
she won both nights. So
last night she was fastest and set a record for the second night's event, not an actual stadium record, but she holds that record on Sister, and I believe it's 13 seconds. 13.11, I believe, is the record in this arena. And Haley Kenzel set that on Sister several years ago.
And they measured in hundredths of a second on this event. It's the only event they do that. And because all these ladies are handy.
Yeah, that's the way to put it, handy. Well, I was looking at scores either last night, and I may have them pulled up here. Hang on a minute. I was wanting to try to make sure I kept some of those things.
Look at her hug that barrel.
But the top 5 horses last night or night before were all within 1/10 of a second. In fact, the first 3 were within 300ths of a second.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how fast they are. And look how I leaned over and hugging that. I mean, if I was riding motorcycles, I'd be dragging my knee.
And she's got that knee sucked in so she don't touch that barrel.
So she don't hit that barrel. And it's also not uncommon to see these ladies lift that leg up and go over that barrel if they realize they're going to hit it, which is legal. But that is a hard thing to do, sitting on that horse.
Or they'll hit a barrel and it'll start to tip over, and they'll reach out their hand and just set it back up.
And they'll grab it.
Which is also legal.
Which is, again, it's legal, but it's not an easy thing to do. I mean,
heck no.
To these gals have been doing this for a long time. Wrong way. And then we get to bull riding, which we talk about more than we do just about anything else. And I just wanted to put a couple of these pictures in there because I don't know when. These are obviously NFR or bucking shoots, but I don't know who or what the bulls are. A couple of them I do know here, I think. That big old Brahma muley kind of bull there looks familiar, but I don't remember who it is. These three guys right here that are standing around on the ground just goofing off are the bullfighters. What used to be called bullfighters, now they're what do they call them now?
Bullfighters.
Well, they do, but don't they call them
They
something
used
else?
to call them rodeo clowns, and they were never.
They did that. Yeah, well, maybe that is what I'm thinking.
They were never clowns.
They've never been clowns, but there's usually a clown in a barrel.
There's a clown in the barrel that's the funny ha-ha guy. And then
that's why they still paint their face. If you look at their face.
But they still honor where they came from, and they paint their faces. And that's Dusty Tuckness there on the left, and looking at us kind of. And then I think that's Cody Webster in the middle. And then Nate Justice over on the head of that bull. And he's pulling that bull away from that cowboy that's coming off. It's going to hit the ground real hard here in a second.
And these guys, they earn their money, buddy. I tell you, and some of these guys get hurt as bad or worse than the riders, but it's also amazing the things they do and not get hurt.
Well, 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, Dusty Tuckness broke his femur, I think. The bull got him down.
Yes, I think you're right.
I think it was his femur. It was a leg bone. I know that. And then there was just two of them. So they went from a crew of three to a crew of two.
But they've developed this crew of three thing. I don't know did that start here? Did that start with PBR? By the time I got back into watching rodeo,
I think PBR probably where they triangle these bulls. They basically got them in a triangle, and they just keep them spinning. They're both working the bull, sort of working the bull while the ride's going on. And then once the cowboy gets off, then they're taking that bull's attention. They're tapping him in the head and getting his head up and having him chase after, kind of after them instead of
the rider.
Cowboy.
He's not always on his feet at that point.
And a lot of times that cowboy will end up right in front of the bull on the ground. And that's when you'll see one of these guys, and the guy in the middle there's the king at it. They call it shooting the gap. They'll jump between the cowboy and the bull, and oftentimes get sent flying through the air because of that. But that's their job. That's what they get paid to do, to take the hit for the cowboy. So,
and if you look on this picture, you can this rope right here is what the cowboy was hanging on to. This is the bull rope, and it's out of his hand, obviously, and he's coming off the bull. But his hand would have been tied down about right here in the middle of his back, close to it anyway.
But his handle's clear down at the bottom of the bull now.
Yeah, it's
right there above the bell.
Yeah, right here.
And the bell's tradition. They've been riding with bells forever. Some guys ride with two, and they're just there for show, tradition kind of thing. Plus, they add weight to the bottom of the rope. So when the cowboy lets go, when his wrap, he's got his hand wrapped in that rope. When the wrap comes free, that weight of that bell will pull that rope off the bull.
Yeah, onto the ground. Some don't always work.
It's just a loop of rope. It's like a loop of rope. That's all it is.
And this part up here towards the top, where he's no longer holding on to it, is just absolutely thick with rosin. because that's another thing that gets rosined up, and they've got a glove full of rosin too. And here's just a couple. I mean, this guy here, he's got a pretty good seat still, and that's a good looking bull ride from there. Who knows how that one turned out. Now the one over here on this side is a wreck about to happen. It's already happening. He's loose and he's coming off that bull.
He's coming down right in front of him too.
He's coming right down in front of him, right over his head. Sometimes they get caught in their head. On their head. I've seen guys get hooked on the horn right off the bat and get tossed because that bull will not hesitate to chuck.
People always worry about the horns, and they'll hurt you. They're darn sure mess you up. But the bad part about that animal is his feet. So when you get down, somebody came off. He's dancing around you, and you got hooves on both sides of your chest, and you're just.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I've seen them come down, like you said, on both sides of their head, both sides of their chest, and I've seen them come down on people. Last night, somebody came off, and they landed behind the bull, or at least they ended up behind the bull, and they were flat on their back. I can't remember who it was, but man, he hit hard. It knocked the breath out of me. And that bull, by that time, was standing on his front hooves, but the rider was at the back, and those back hooves came down to the ground almost simultaneously, and I thought he was going to get literally bull squashed.
Well, Josh Frost got thrown clear back to the chutes on night one, and it rang his bell. Uh-huh. He landed flat of his back and hit his head too. Right. And he was in La La Land. He didn't know where he was at anymore. And the bullfighters, built the wall between him and the bull and got that bull back and out the out gate.
And he got up and walked away and rode again last night.
Yep. Because that's what they do.
And here's a couple more of those guys. This guy's ejecting off the back seat. Off the back here.
And look at that sucker. He's looking down at him. Yeah. I got you now. And that's where a bullfighter would jump in there. You can see him coming in.
He's coming in right here.
Shoot that gap and take that hit for that cowboy.
That's J.B. Mooney, I think, on the ground. I might be wrong, but
that looks like JB's stuff.
Because he never wears a helmet, and he's got he's usually got a feather in his hat. I believe
he's got a red-tailed hawk feather in his hat, and those green fringe chaps. So,
and I put the rest of the slides are just some personalities that have, over the years, have become famous. And that's JB riding. I guess that's the same bull, but these two guys didn't make each other famous themselves. This bull is called Bushwhacker, and many people still think he was one of the best bulls ever. And JB was JB.
He got on him 13 times and rode him once.
But no, did anybody else ever ride him?
One other guy rode him.
Okay.
Total.
So 2 people rode this bull
in like a 10-year bull career.
And JB, what people used to talk, because every time JB would come up and he was in a situation where they got to pick their bull, he would pick, if Bushwhacker was in the pen, he would pick him.
Yeah.
And people couldn't understand why. They used to say, why in the hell does he keep doing it? Well, he did it because he wanted to ride that bull.
Right.
Nobody else could ride him, and he wanted to ride him, and JB didn't ride him 12 times. 12 out of 13 he landed on the ground, but he did ride him, and that was together. That kind of, in some ways, kind of made them both famous, I think, in their own way.
That, would you two quit? The one time he got on him, I think it was on him, and they opened the gate and the lights went off in the arena.
Yeah.
And he goes, heck, I couldn't ride him when it was daylight, let alone when it was black dark.
Oh man, he was something else now. Both of them actually.
Another guy that broke his neck and had to retire.
Yeah, that was, and it wasn't Bushwhacker that did it. I saw a picture that day of JB riding the bull that broke his neck, and I can't remember who it was.
And he owns him now.
Bushwhacker or the other bull?
No, that Bushwhacker's dead, but the bull that broke his neck, he bought him.
Oh, did he? Okay.
And he's just a big pet that stands there he's got that big place what does he call it? Bull Town. He's got that big set of pens and pastures and everything there at Stephenville. And that bull, he's retired and he gets to live there the rest of his life, and he just walks out and scratches him between the ears. And
which is something a lot of people don't understand. These bulls,
they get pretty good care of.
Well, they get treated like
royalty.
And some of them, when they're not in this arena and they're not in this environment, you could walk out there and put your kid on their back and ride them around in the pen like a pony. Or like Mark says, walk out there and scratch them between the ears. But once you put a rope on them and you put them in that chute, they're ready to go. And I don't care what anybody says, these animals know.
They know what their job is and they like it.
And they do it. And some of them do it really well. And,
So that bull, like if they opened the trailer, old Bushwhacker, and there was another bull that was out at what's his bucket's place up in North Dakota, Chatburger.
Yeah.
He had a bull. I think it was probably Little Yellow Jacket. If you opened the trailer door up and that bull was anywhere near, he was loading himself on.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't need you this time. And he couldn't hardly get the bull to get out of the trailer. He was wanting to get down the road
and go buck somebody
off.
These bulls have become truly athletes. I mean, they're bull breeding and the way they are treated now and the bloodlines they've got. These bulls are.
Yeah, it's a hard science.
And they're big too. I mean, these bulls are not your run-of-the-mill pasture cow or bull. These guys are big. And I mean, Bushwhacker, I'm sure was, I don't know, at least 1,200 pounds, maybe more. And they're tall. I mean, they're big. They're not as tall as a bucking horse, but they're big animals. Most of them. Now they still ride some smaller bulls.
Well, and some of those are pretty darn good too.
And some of those are really good. They're fast. Usually they get smaller, they get a little faster.
My favorite bull of all time was Blueberry Wine, and he was a blue spotted little white bull, blue spots all over him, and they almost never rode that. They almost never rode that bull. He was so fast. And a little bit surly.
Well, a bull like Bushwhacker was powerful. And you're looking at an animal that weighs over half a ton, and all four of his feet in this picture are off the ground. And I've seen pictures of him and a couple of years that would look like they were up. Their feet look like they were as high as the bucking chutes. They're amazing. But then the little guys, the smaller bulls, and these guys aren't slow. Don't get me wrong. They're quick too. But you put them on some of these small bulls are really fast, and they can just make maneuvers and switch directions so quick that nobody can hang on to them.
That when Jose Vitor Leme won on Whoopah, the highest score in the PBR, 98 3/4, I think. which is almost perfect. And almost perfect. 100 is perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's the highest ever.
That bull, literally, you could see the bucking chutes under all 4 feet.
Yeah.
He was 6 feet off the ground bucking. It was insane.
And it's not uncommon for a bull like Bushwhacker in this case to be standing on his front legs and his back feet be almost vertical above his head.
Yeah.
They could get, I mean, they're so, it's amazing. Did you see what Tina said?
They load like a.
Hey, Doug.
How many? The one about the steak?
Yeah. Yeah.
They ain't going to eat that bull.
They wouldn't eat. I guarantee you he didn't get butchered.
All these bulls, every one of these bulls in the last 20 years I know of that I know.
Look at the show, Carol.
They get graves with headstones.
Yeah, they do. They get treated probably better than a lot of people in that respect.
Well, Ty Murray's got a daggone horse, and maybe bulls too, but he's got a horse cemetery out on his property where he just buys these like great old retired bucking horses, and they live on his place till they die.
And then
when they're 32 or whatever, and then he buries them, and they all have a headstone, and it's like they like these animals a lot.
Yeah, you'd think that an animal that stomps them and beats them and carries on with them, well, they wouldn't care about. But a lot of these bull riders these days, at least, well, I probably always have. There's always a bunch of them that actually turn into breeders and raise cattle and do this. That's what a lot of them do now. It's what JB's doing. Unless he's got a school. Is he teaching? Has he got a school on his place?
Yeah, he's got chutes for bucking. I'm not sure if he's done. Well, he's got to be. He's teaching at some level. I don't know if it's an official school or if it's just.
They can at least come there and
come over here, and JB Mooney will teach us some things, kind of a deal.
And here's a couple. There's Big Will Loomis.
Big Will Loomis.
And this kid here on the left is.
You wouldn't want to meet Big Will Loomis in a dark alley.
No, I wouldn't think so. This kid on the left is part of a family out of Utah by the name of Wright, Wright, and mostly they're a bucking horse family. They've been riding saddle broncs for a long time. Their daddies before them, and their uncles and their uncles' brothers, and now there's a whole string of kids about his age. And this kid's name is Stetson. I believe that's Stetson.
Yeah, it's Stetson.
He's the only one of them that's broke off from that. He actually rides bucking horses and bulls, and he's won the all around the last 3 years in a row or 2 years in a row at least. But this year he's out because he got hurt. There's a bunch of really name brand riders, and
Kai Hamilton's not there.
Yeah,
last year's champion.
And that's just in bull riding. I mean, there's other events where there's a bunch of
there's a lot of rookies and a lot of missing faces.
Right, and that's the deal. Some of the missing faces are just getting old and they got to quit by these standards. But a lot of them are just hurt right now. Well, say MZ, I don't know if he's officially retired or not, but he's not. Sage, is he coming back or is he done?
He's riding for the PBR.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's right. He is. But his brother's riding, and then I think it's his brother. It's
Trey's there now.
He's there this year. And so, but I don't know how many of the riders, Stetson and Ryder and
Sattler,
and oh God,
and then one of their uncles.
And then one of their uncles is still riding.
Who's their age. He's a much younger brother from their dad.
Right. And he's Stetson's uncle. I thought they were just another older brother because they are He's
They all
flying.
look alike. They all look alike.
Yeah, they all look like they all wear this blue shirt. That's become I don't know how long, but for several years now, that's been like their
Blue shirts and black hats. They almost always are.
I don't know if you caught this. And I put this guy, and this guy, young man's name is Casey Fields, and he's not. I don't know if he's still riding. He's
retired.
I thought he retired, but he won 5. I think he won 5 championships, and his dad before him was a champion.
Bareback guys.
Bareback rider, wasn't they? Both of them, I think.
Yeah.
I just always liked him as a rider. I hate to see him gone, but good for him. And these are just 2 pictures of guys, they've survived. This guy on the right he's obviously won his go around in something. And even though he's got a blue shirt on, pretty sure that's not a Stetson.
He ain't a ride.
Or a ride, I mean. And I don't know about the guy on the left. I'm not sure who that is. I ought to recognize him, but I don't. I thought at first it was Sage, but it's not Sage. Well, it's Sage. Is that Sage Steele? Is that his name on the front of his jacket?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Anyway, I just threw those up there for kind of something you might see at the rodeo. And this is, they're all shooting for this saddle and that big old silver and gold buckle right there he got in his left hand. And they always award them in these, fine fitted boxes. And I'm quite sure it's a lovely feeling to be standing down there getting that at the end of 10 days. And this rodeo goes on for 10 days. That's the other thing. And, okay, where am I looking for? This button. And 10 days of this stuff is actually nothing to sneeze at, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard on these guys. I don't know how they do it for 10 days, to be honest.
Uh-oh, Carol's going to a Christmas play.
Yeah, she said by a minute ago, so I think she might already be gone. But anyway, so now if you weren't excited about it, you can still watch 8 days. There's 8 more nights of events if you get the Cowboy channel or the RFD channel, because they're covering the NFR. I wonder how that will progress, because they're not owned by the same people anymore.
Don't know.
Since the old man died, they've outfit called Teton Productions or something like that has bought the Cowboy channel and the Cowgirl channel, and the family, I guess, is still going to maintain control over the RFD channel, which was the first thing they had. It's not rural free delivery, which is maybe it is. Maybe it represents that because it's supposed to be about farming and country life and all that, but that's a whole nother story. I won't even go there. But the guy that started that passed away this past year. I think it was this year, earlier this year.
Mr. Gotch.
Yeah, Mr. Gotch. And
the man that most looked like a human Grinch of every person I've ever seen. He literally if you'd have painted him green, it's like, oh, he could play him in real life.
He sure could.
But he was a good guy.
But anyway, he did a lot. He certainly did a lot for Cowboy Western sports. I'll have to give him that.
Yeah.
But time will tell what'll change, if anything. I guess I'm more concerned about what it'll do as far as being able to watch the rodeos and keep the rodeos going, watch them like they have now. I guess they have to. I mean, they're going to keep it all going.
Well, it's so popular now compared to when we were kids or whatever. I mean, it's so popular.
Very true. here I finally am getting the Cowboy channel, which drove me nuts for months because I've missed all the rodeos this year up till now, or until the last couple months. And I've watched a few here, but the main ones I've missed most of them before I got this cable and I got the TV out here and everything. And what was I getting ready to say?
I don't know, to have anything to do with hunting.
It was either hunting or rodeo. Oh, what was I going to say?
That's always been our joke.
It's an inside joke because that's usually what we talked about.
if we forgot, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Would have anything to do with hunting because
We've been saying that for
30 years now.
30 years, 30 plus years, going on 40 years.
Oh my God, that's true. Oh, what was I getting ready to say?
I got the biggest pile.
Yeah, I don't get that. I mean, they started the Cowgirl channel after the Cowboy channel got growing.
Right.
But I don't get the Cowgirl channel back here.
Either.
So I don't know where. I guess if you buy the app and you pay for it separately, I guess you can get that too. But
yeah,
I'm sure in some places they probably do show it on their cable networks, but I don't get that, and they have never seen it. So I don't know how that works, but it's interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting network.
Well, and then they've migrated all the PBR stuff to like streaming things.
Yeah.
So you got to go to Roku or Hulu or something, YouTube or whatever to watch.
Yeah, and there's one thing in particular they were showing, what they call it, not rerun channel, and it's actually attached to one of those you just mentioned.
Ride Pass.
What? Yeah, Ride Pass.
Right. Yeah,
I think they're still doing that.
Yeah, they're on that.
And so used to be
CBS Sports ran.
Who else is showing them? Is nobody else? Somebody else.
I haven't seen it. I can't find it anymore. So I mean, I can find it on those.
That may all be gone then. Because I hadn't been able to either, but I didn't have the cable to see it.
Right.
That's sad.
So I've been watching PBR on YouTube because I can't find it anywhere else.
Do they show complete events on YouTube now?
Yeah, complete events.
Oh, well, I'll have to start doing that too then. I didn't realize you could. I thought it was still just cuts and clips and things
I'll send you a link next time I
think about it.
And yeah, because they're going to be in St. Louis, I think, this weekend. Today.
Oh, yeah, I guess they're going full bore on the actual bucking, not the team stuff.
Yeah, this is just the individual.
Which reminds me of something else I was just thinking about. Haven't they changed? Something's changed with them too. And I was thinking, well, I wonder if that's probably where that team stuff came from, because I'm still not sure about that. I've watched it a little bit more when I could, but I'm still not sure about it. I just don't know if that'll ever catch on like they hope.
I'm torn on it. There are times where I really like it, and then times where I'm like, well, whatever, I mean, they're still riding both. One guy's getting on one bull and riding, but it's a lot more. I don't know. Well, I definitely prefer the individual stuff, and they're right now. Jose Vitor is back out there doing his deal.
Well, that's a sport that's been somewhat, or at least maybe not dominated, but largely influenced by Brazilian riders over the last 15 years or so. Well, since PBR came along, is kind of when When I remember it, catch the Venezuela, or not the Venezuelans, but mostly Brazilians coming, because I guess it's a big deal down there, bull riding and rodeoing, and that
A
cow
huge
has
deal.
always been big down there. And the fact the first, or not the first three, but one of the first big champions, and that was Brazilian. And I won't be able to think his name now, but I can see it's Morales.
Adriano Moraes.
Yeah, Adriano. He won 3 times, I believe.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Is that still the record, or is Vitor beat him?
No, I think
Or
no.
not?
Vitor's
Alves.
only got Jose's only got, or Jose. It's not Jose. It's Jose. He's got 2, but I mean, he's going to crack out and
Yeah.
get 5 or whatever. He's a gifted little dude. I'm telling you.
I think if JB hadn't got hurt and probably was, I want to say more serious about it. I mean, he was serious about it, but he was also kind of not in an athletic sort of way. JB was kind of guy that ride a bull and then step out behind the sheets for a beer and a smoke.
Silvano's the guy that's got the most.
Silvano, that's who I was. Alvarez,
yeah,
or Alvarez.
Alves.
Yeah. He's
and he just retired.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought he was retired.
I mean, he just retired like here right after the team's event, and I saw the coolest video with he was walking down the hall and here's Jagger Mooney. And Jagger Mooney had just stuck a red-tailed hawk feather in his hat band and put it on his head, and he's just a little kid.
Yeah,
he turns and looks down the hallway, and here comes Adriano, and he just took off running at him as hard as he could and jumped up in the air, and Silvano caught him in the air and gave him a big old hug. And
I haven't seen that one.
That was right after his retirement ceremony, I think.
I've seen that kid in several videos over the last.
He's riding bulls already.
Oh Lord!
I've seen him on like steers and lots of sheep, but I think he's been getting on little mini bulls too. So.
Oh, he'll be a holy terror then by the time he's old.
He's going to be. And JB's like, I'm not going to make him do anything. If he wants to play the piano, he can play the piano, whatever he wants to do. And it's like there was no question whatsoever from the time he could walk what he was going to do.
I'm not sure you can be JB Mooney's son
he's walking around in like a diaper and a set of chaps.
Yeah.
And no shirt and a big hat and boots
and cowboy boots.
And dragging a bull rope behind him everywhere he goes.
It's kind of a
wonder what that kid's going to
do. Yep.
Kind of like little Johnny Crember. He's good. Holy buckets.
I don't know if I've seen him ride or not.
Oh man. That's Paolo's son.
Paolo's son?
And he is well, he's either number 1 or number 2 in the world right now, and he got the MVP for the team series.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's just 18 years old.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Paolo was he was
handy.
He was handy, yes. He was good, but he got hurt. He broke his neck, I believe. And decided to ride. Well, I think they kind of told him, "Look, you do this again, you're dead."
That's what they told Mooney.
Well, you know what? Yeah, but like I said,
or you're either dead or you're gonna be like pushing one of them things around.
Somebody. I don't know where I read this, but this was just in Reese doing this. I just read or saw something where they were talking about JB. One of the times he got hurt, knocked out. Something, and they were reviving him or getting him up, or the sports guys were trying to And the first thing he said when he woke up was, he said, "Anybody got a cigarette?"
Yeah.
He's a nut, that boy.
Well, and when he broke his neck, he got up and they're like, oh, and he looked over at one of the sports medicine guys, Tandy probably, Freeman, and said, I broke my neck. He could feel it. And they're like, oh, we'll get a backboard in here. And he's like, the heck you will. I'm walking out of here. And he walked out of there. Anyway, then he started, and then he went and got down on the bed in the ambulance.
Yeah, he did break his neck.
He did break his neck.
I'll tell you something. When I bucked off out here on my lawnmower, I thought I'd broke mine. That's no.
I know. I talked to you right after.
I did. I thought I'd broke my neck. Sure.
It wasn't sounding good, but you're moving around good now.
Yeah, probably about as well.
You look as good as I've seen you in weeks. Seriously.
Well, I appreciate that.
I mean, you're like.
Well, I still can't lift my arm, but look, I can. Look here, damn, I got it up. That's as high. Well, I'm sitting funny. If I'm actually straight, this is about as high as I can get it. Now, the young lady yesterday who measured me for movement, because they did a 3-week evaluation or whatever, she had me do a couple things. She said, well, you're actually moving a little further than you were, but you sound like you're in more pain. I said, yeah, that's about right. Before I couldn't get it up about here. And now if I grunt real hard and grit my teeth, I can get it up about here.
Yeah.
And but
it's gonna hurt. What did they tell you about your hand?
Well, it's supposed to be healed. They think it's gonna heal like this. And they were talking to, because I haven't started therapy on this yet. And she asked me that yesterday, and I said, well, it's a funny thing. He didn't really say. What the doctor said was, you probably wear that for about another 4 weeks or so. And he said, you can probably throw that thing away. Well, it's been 4 weeks now since he said that, but I ain't throwing it away yet because it still hurts like hell. But I am seeing him next Monday for this, the new evaluation of my shoulder, because they think, and which I don't know what they have as far as, knowledge of this, but they think the rotator cuff's torn, which is what I thought. And they are a little bit concerned that one of my bicep muscles is torn. And which, I mean, hell, why not? Both legs have torn muscles, and I might as well have some up top too. But so, we're going to talk about that, and then I figure we'll probably talk about this a little bit too, because I don't want to take this off. Well, I'd be glad to take it off. I just want to make sure it's healed up enough to do that, because I've done a couple things lately, and Brenda gets mad at me because I did it. But I've had this off because sometimes you just got to take it off, Yeah. And I've, as we say in the country, I've retched over to get something, and it's been the wrong thing to retch over and get, and it's hurt like hell. And I can almost feel those bones crunching. I'm not sure they're healed up yet. So we're going to be a little bit careful. That's called balanced. What part's balanced, Tina? You got which part's balanced?
You got tore muscles and all your legs.
That's a good point. Well, that means if on that thought, I might need to tear one over here, and I just assume not. Just to be quite honest, I'd like to have at least one that works. I may have to retrain it, but eventually this one will work better. This one I'd like to, not let wither up and dry up and blow away. But yeah, I mean, it's getting better. It's frustrating and it sucks, and I'm getting too old for this shit, I guess. But pardon me, but it's it is
the exact right age.
What?
You are the exact right age for this shit.
Yeah, well, that's true. I guess that is true. That's the problem, damn it. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to be. And until I started getting hurt, I didn't think I was going to be. Damn it.
That was helping the boy. We had a whole passel of grandsons and grandnephews and grand whatevers, and the boys and I were out. Sammy and one of his cousins were setting muskrat traps, and I was jumping down off the riverbank down into the water down and slapping steel in the ground, and the cousin was a jarhead, and he's like, "Well, you're pretty nimble still for an old guy," and he's like, "You're pretty nimble for an old guy. You're just making those old man noises when you get down there." He's like, "I'd have never knowed."
Well, good for you. Well, he don't know is you probably couldn't move.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I just fell off the bank, dude." It wasn't quite intentional. I just fell off the bank.
Oh, it definitely isn't for the weak. Okay, you're absolutely right. There's somebody tell me that you're not growing old ain't for the. Oh, how did he put my friend Steve Cotter, who was quite the philosopher. He had a way of saying that. I can't remember now exactly, but he said, yeah, I know how it was. Old age ain't for wimps. I believe
it's not for wimps. It's not for sissies.
Yeah, it's not. It's you got to take it seriously. Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it'll remind you.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe that's my problem. Maybe I wasn't taking it seriously.
I was like 2 o'clock this morning, woke up, both my shoulders were aching so badly. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what did I do?
When was this?
This morning.
Oh.
2 o'clock this morning, I just woke up and I'm like, golly, my shoulders are killing me right now. And it was and I'm just thinking, like, okay, yesterday, what did I do that would have made that happen? Picked up some feed sacks. I don't know. It was just like
nothing I don't normally do. What's wrong?
Just like what? I've tilled some leather.
Oh God! Surely it wasn't that. Let's hope it wasn't.
I wasn't like out chopping wood or something, splitting wood. I don't know. That's what caused it all, I'm sure, and canoe paddles and bow and arrows and
drawing bows for 50 years or 60 or whatever. I've been drawing. Well, I don't know.
Well, for me, it's been probably 65 years.
Oh, yeah. I've drawn one since I was my first bow was a green stamps bow my mama got me for my birthday because I started shooting when I was 10 or 11 at least. I've was drawing bows ever since then until the last 3 or 4 years, and I hadn't been able to do it, and I really miss it. So I picked one up the other day and looked at it, and I thought, man, I got to do this. I got to do this again. I just can't quit. Can't give it up.
We'll get you a 35 or 40 pounder, buddy, and just
I have to.
I mean, build back up. That's all you can do.
So is that your wife or your daughter out here?
Both.
Good morning, Shauna.
She's cleared the other end of the house by now. But anyway.
Anyhow. All right, guys. It's time for me to go finish watching more recorded rodeo from last night. And catch up on the last little bit I hadn't seen yet. But I stayed up and watched the whole rodeo, but I still hadn't finished the
first night.
The last part of the buckle ceremony.
Buckle ceremony.
And I'm sure, and there'll be some new stuff on today. So I'll get, and there ought to be some good football on today. I was just thinking, is the Army-Navy game this weekend? It ought to be coming up real soon.
Maybe.
Today's the SEC championship is today or tonight. That's Alabama not Alabama. That's Georgia and Texas.
That ought to be a good one.
It ought to be a good game. I honestly think Texas will win, but we'll see.
Well, they got McConaughey there on the sidelines, like, all right, all right, all right.
Yeah, that ought to be worth at least a couple of points on the scoreboard at the end. Don't you reckon? And he can bring them all out a bottle of whiskey when they're done, because he's got some of that too with his name on it.
Yep.
But anyhow,
It says it's next weekend.
I guess that's why I hadn't heard about it, then, Tina. Thanks, Chuck.
But the Georgia-Texas game is today?
Yeah, Georgia-Texas game I know is today, and I'm sure there's some other conference championships that are today. I'm sure that's not the only one. Yeah. So there still is some football. I can't believe football season's already over, or mostly. I mean, I was so excited when it started because I really missed college football 8 months out of the year, 9. And then I got excited because it started, and now it's over. It's a little bit like the NFR. I wait every year till it starts, and then suddenly it's over, and I'm like, what the hell happened there? Where'd that go? Oh, well. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. We'll be back here again next week, I hope. And anyway.
Good Lord's willing, and the creek don't rise.
Clemson plays SMU today. Yeah, that's the weirdest thing, too. Clemson and SMU playing for a champion. I mean, SMU is now in the Atlantic Coast Conference, I guess. Now, how strange is that? Because they ain't nowhere near the Atlantic Ocean.
That's way weird.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some worse than that. I mean, there's some real scattered out.
Yeah.
They've been mixing and well, I mean, hell, when you think about it, Texas ought to be in the Southwest Conference or something, not the Southeast. And they used to be in the Southwest, but that's all changed. Missouri.
I think they're going to make us go play with community colleges next.
We won't be in next Saturday. We're heading south. Where you're heading? Oh, you're heading to Disney, Tina, or you got somewhere else in the South? You're headed
somewhere warmer.
Somewhere warmer. Yeah, well, I don't much blame you for that. Look at all the teams. Yeah, I know. I think there's 16 teams now in the SEC, and I can't believe it. And yes, it's Disney. Well, have fun. I'm a little bit jealous. It's been a while since we've been down there. I'll have to admit I kind of miss it a little bit. But then again, I miss Wyoming too. And I've only been out there a few times, so. But I'm going to get out there again sometime. Yes, but Tess isn't coming with us. I'm not sure. I think I get that. Unless there is a Tess, I don't remember. Anyway, all right, guys. Have fun.
Yes, Disney. That's why.
Yeah, I saw that, but then she put something else down at the bottom. It says, yes, but Tess isn't coming with us. So I guess she's been funny about that. Anyway, everybody have a safe weekend and a safe week. Don't jump your lawnmowers off the back porch or anything like that. And Christmas is just around the corner.
Or get on a bull.
What?
Or get on a bull.
Or get on a bull, yeah. But anyway, guys, thanks for being here, and we'll see you all then. Bye-bye.
Later,
dude.